All right, we should be good.
All right. Well, good afternoon, gentlemen, everybody. So I guess we got a pretty straightforward agenda today. Lots of good reporting, hopefully not controversy. And actually, if we make it to the end of the meeting under the last subheading, other business, Keith and I were mulling over some things, trying to, keep the ball rolling on some things we discussed in previous meetings and the like. So if we get time under other business, we'll have just a couple of update thoughts, and Keith will take the lead on those. So if you want to make a note of that or anticipate it, you can. So without any further ado, we can start clipping through the agenda. First item is the minutes. And again, I really do have to thank Keith. He is the finest and most prompt taker of minutes. He got the draft to me within a day. And then with a little bit of, formatting and editing, the minutes were done. It's just such a pleasure. So we really do appreciate it, Keith. I mean, you're standing in this interim period, and we appreciate it. So if you have had a chance to look at those minutes, there's a bracket just below the heading that needs to come out. I've already taken it out of mine. It's right in the middle under the URL for YouTube. When I inserted that from Mike's email, there was a bracket left hanging from my original draft. So I'll take that out. The rest of it, have you got any questions, corrections, additions? Now's the time. I think Keith did it.
Diane.
Yeah.
Diane, looks like, I guess, in the heading where it has the YouTube address. Did you mention this just then and I missed it, where it has YouTube, I guess, is that correct with the dot there before BE?
That's correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
Sorry. All right, I didn't realize that. Yeah.
It's weird, but it's correct.
Yeah, I copied it exactly as Mike sent it to me, but somehow I left the old bracket in, so it's out. So anything else? Anything you see? Corrections, additions? They're pretty thorough, Okay. Well, hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to approve them with that one minor change. Hey, Grant, we see you.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
We were just looking at the minutes after kicking off. So if they're hearing no corrections or additions, anybody want to move that we approve the minutes with that one minor change? Motion? Okay. Thank you, Grant. Oh, not Grant. Craig. Second?
Second.
Robert. Okay. All in favor of approving the minutes? Aye. Anybody says no? Okay. Abstentions? Complaints? No. All right. Item number 1, done. Okay. Mike, as usual, features heavily in the updates. So we can happily move on to Mike's series of updates.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
I've got up on the screen the financial report for August 21. We had a very good month. Scroll on down a little bit here, kind of capture the. Okay, so our sales in avgas, we had 46,000. And the jet fuel was 175,000. And you can look down under expenses, compare that to our cost of goods sold. One thing I did want to mention on this report is our airport fees are a little low, and they'll really pick up, in this month and future months too, with the UGA football and the volleyball and everybody that's flying right now. That's where the fees really kick in. And then also, of course, the game days is also a big plus for us. But eventually what I want to do, once I capture, which I pretty much have an idea now, I've been here 3 years, pretty much have an idea as to where, each month we will probably fall. So starting next budget, I'll probably go ahead and do that, you know, and make an educated guess on each month so it's not out of whack. But this is pretty low for this month. Reason being, and I've asked several of the operations folks too, just to confirm, is that we've when we have a an aircraft that comes in and we charge them a ramp fee, we'll waive that ramp fee with fuel. And as you can see, our fuel has increased. So a lot of them, what they've done, they've opted to take fuel, and there's a minimum fuel that they have to take in order to, you know, us consider to be, you know, waiving their ramp fees. So that's what they've done. So our sales is up, but the ramp fees are down. So I'd rather them take fuel than you know, a ramp fee any day, because we make more money that way. But that's the reason for that. And then moving on down, let's see, got so we got total revenues for the month, 270, total expenses 218, total revenue expense 51,000, and we've got 71, almost 72,000 for the year to date. And then coming on down to our gallons sold, got our avgas and jet. And jet was up from last month, and avgas was down. And then our operations, that's probably about right for August, for, you know, what we're going through these days and times. But this next month, September, will definitely be picked up, and which should be looking pretty good. So let's go to our charts. Here's our operation charts, the green being our budget, you know, our goal, and and then here's the numbers again in a graph form. And then we've got our fuel, the Jet A, and the 37,133, and then our avgas as well. I'm hoping avgas picks up. We'll just have to see. We do have a lot of good opportunities that I'll bring to the airport authority at a later date, you know, that would benefit our avgas sales. So so right now I'm really happy with the way the month ended, and especially, you know, with the future months coming up being our most busiest months for activity. Any questions on the financials? Okay, let me stop sharing and get out of that. Hey, Blaine.
Hey, Mike. Hey, everybody. Sorry I'm late.
Oh, you're good. You're good. So let's move on to our capital improvement project update. Currently, we've got, and I might ask Holt to help me out on this, because I hadn't called up our resident engineer to find out where we stand on the localizer, but I know they're working on it and making good progress. But as far as the taxiway Alpha, we finished the phase 1 just in time for Delta to come in, the first flight into Athens for the team, and that was phase 1, which is from Alpha 1 to Alpha 2, and we finished that, and that allowed we finished it up on a Thursday, and Delta came in on Friday, so it was perfect timing. But that allowed them to land any direction really. If they came in on 2-7, they could take Alpha 1 and loop around take Alpha 2 and loop around. Pretty much take Alpha 1, loop around Alpha 2, and then back taxi down the runway. And we had, I had talked to Delta about that. They were fine with it. I gave them different scenarios if they landed or took off on 2-7 or 9, and also the tower as well. I got with them just to make sure that they were good with that plan. So everybody seemed good with it. We haven't had any issues with it. They've already landed here a couple times, and they seem to be happy with the way the construction's going. Now, with that said, there's a section between Alpha 2 and Alpha 3, which this is all on the west side of the center of the airport. Schedule B is the west side, which I'll talk about that in a few minutes. So we're working on phase 2 of that, which we're taking that all the way down to the dirt, doing soil cement, putting drainage in, and I think, and maybe Chris could tell me, have we laid the stone down yet?
They've gotten the first lift of stone. They're working on the second lift of stone, and then next week they'll be paving that section.
Good, good. And then at that point, we'll be working on Alpha 3, which is basically taking that whole section of taxiway on Alpha 3 up. Right now, it's at an angle. If you have the taxiway here or the runway here, it's at an angle like this. We want to straighten it up. That's the way the FAA likes it. And so we'll have to dig all of that up. And when I sent the taxiway diagrams to Delta and also the tower, I did not include Alpha 3 in any of their operations because I knew this would be coming up. And of course, I told them that this would be coming up. So I didn't want to include that in anything because I knew we'd be, taking that up and they wouldn't be able to use it anyway. So again, everybody seems good. The only thing is, internally, when we have a game day, we utilize Alpha 3 quite a bit. When aircraft land either direction, they usually get off on Alpha 3, and that's where we meet them and greet them. And then we have a follow me truck, that brings the airplanes to wherever we want to park them. But talking to the tower, it shouldn't be any problem. We could probably use Bravo 3, which is just east of that, and just kind of change our minds a little bit, and think, okay, we're not going to be meeting him at this area. We'll be meeting him at the other end, which should be just fine and shouldn't be any big deal. The tower seems like it'll be a safe operation, and we'll get used to that. But it'll be short-lived and everything will flow well. Now going to the Schedule B, that's the other portion of this project that we got a grant for. The mayor has signed the grant. It's with GDOT now. The commissioner of GDOT has signed it, so that $6 million is a done deal. The mayor just signed an addendum 2 for Astra to continue the work. What they're doing here on this first phase for Schedule A and C to Schedule B, so they'll continue on with that, and then also working to get the construction phase services from Holt, getting that approved as well. So all of that's looking good and getting started. I'll have Chris talk about the localizer, and then I'll move on to runway 2 and 20.
So they're working on the foundations for the localizer now, the equipment shelter foundation, and then the footings for the pilings. They've poured half of those, and they've got the rest of the half to pour this week. And then the lumber is 3 to 4 weeks out, and then they'll actually start putting that up, vertical wise. So.
Right, that's good. I did get a word, and we talk about this later, that I guess we'll have to use a crane next week. What day is that? Do you know? Rich was telling me about that. And we'll probably have to
We're still working it out. I'll get with Rich to get the exact date.
Okay.
I talked to him earlier, and he was going to find it out.
All right. So we'll probably have to shut the runway down for about an hour and what they're doing, the localizer has a small building where all the equipment is stored, the electronics and all that kind of stuff. So we've got a brand new building here. We got to move it to its permanent location, and that's going to be next week sometime. It'll only take about an hour for that crane to go up and down, but it will definitely impede on the approach. So we'll just have to shut that down and use 220, in the meantime for about an hour. So thank you, Chris, for that update. So going on to 220, we, as I mentioned in previous meetings, we've got an opportunity to get some grant money from GDOT to overlay 220 and next year. And so we put Holt on the spot because we've got a work authorization that has gone through the mayor commission or is going through the mayor commission process right now hopefully to be approved this Tuesday. Is that right? Yeah, it's coming up fast. And then we'll be able to move forward with the design all the way up to the bidding process for 220. And I know a lot of the pilots on right now, Craig and David as well, they know how bad that runway is looking. It's still usable, but it's not a pretty looking runway. I'll just tell you that. So we'll be excited to have that done, and that's gonna get Holt, tested on their quickness. I'm telling you, it's gonna put them to the test. But they say they can do it, so that's good. I guess that's about it on the capital improvement projects. Any questions? Did I miss anything? Okay. Marketing and outreach. Haven't done any of that hardly this past month. But I will say that I have been talking to Doug Blissett about hooking up with American again. And he's had several of his clients go to Dallas, I guess, where American is, and meet with them. And we have one person in particular that's over the Charlotte hub for American, and that's who we want to go see. That's who we met with by WebEx or Zoom last couple months. But he feels like it's time to go talk to them again and see what their plans are. So I'm kind of talking to him about that, and I'll update you more as he and I talk. He's thinking maybe next month, the month after. We'll have to see. We talked about just doing it by Zoom, but he said person to person works out much better with them, and certainly want to, get as much bang for the buck as I can and make this work. And I still feel confident, that they're looking at us. I know that last time I talked to them, they said they were doing some studies on us. And after we did our own study, a couple of years ago, we know it'll work. It's really a no-brainer. I mean, the catchment area and the market study was just a plus all the way around. So I'll update you more on that as that comes around. ClearPoint data system update. I'll have to look at that. I think we updated it. I think it was last month we did.
Mhm.
And so I'll share that probably the next meeting that we meet. And then in-person meetings and updates. Not a whole lot of in-person meetings, but I will talk a little bit later about the airport business coordinator position, where we stand on that. Any questions on my reports?
Sounds great. Okay, any comments, questions? Sure, Mike, you've been busy.
It's been good busy for sure.
Yeah. So, all right, well, let's get into the old business updates there. And again, we'll be hearing from Mike on many of those. Let me give you a brief update on the Lexington Highway corridor projects. Nobody is more happy than I to report that at the September 7 voting meeting of the Mayor and Commission, there was a unanimous vote to support the 8 projects for the Lexington corridor. And so I've shared those 8 projects with you in previous meetings. You know that one of those is for the new entrance road on Lexington for the airport. And I believe we did talk previously about the fact that, what we in the user group asked for that was not for the full funding, because that obviously would be way more than the just under $4 million budget available for those T-SPOS funds right now. But what we asked for was for a preliminary design and actually feasibility study. And so that's what they have funded for that, or they have voted to fund it. The exact wording on that for the airport is, where is it? Complete preliminary design and acquire necessary rights of way to protect future entrance construction. So, you know, it's actually very pleasing that they voted to support all 8 projects that the user group had recommended. The other 2 that they voted to fund preliminary design and right-of-way kind of foundation work was for the Gaines School, Cherokee Road, Lexington Highway intersection, you know, that busy intersection with lots of issues. And then the Jail Road, Lexington Road intersection, which I've talked to you about before. You know, we gave that high priority as well because it's quite dangerous, and every day you get people actually trying to cross the highway to get to the bus stop on the other side. And so, you know, the other projects that they agreed to fund at this stage anyway in full were largely sidewalk and bus stop improvement projects for lesser amounts of money. But I think for our purposes, the fact that they actually supported the idea of a feasibility and preliminary design study and rights of way investigation for the airport entrance, you know, is very encouraging, because actually without it, that project would be dead. This is the only way that it was going to survive at this point. It had been recommended over and over again in previous reports, but it hadn't seen the light of day in anything. So, you know, I feel, you know, very happy for, you know, the airport and for Mike, and for the fact that it was interesting, actually. Commissioner Carol Myers told me, you know, that there wasn't a lot of discussion, but actually, and so did Derek Doster. Apparently the commission did comment favorably on the hard work that the user group had done, and said that actually what we had done was really try to stay loyal to the concept of a corridor improvement undertaking. The Atlanta Highway user group got the opposite feedback and vote. So I think, you know, we've done well for the airport in that one. You remember we got the new shiny green little signs to begin with. That was a tiny, tiny little victory, but this is great. So the next steps are actually for the staff in the various departments and consulting firm staff that they work with on data gathering, surveys, owner notices, pending developments, data gathering phase, if you like, and then also working with the utility companies and working with GDOT, and putting together a general timeline. So they're actually starting, and I think, you know, they certainly are going to be coming, you know, to Mike asking for information, data gathering, and looking at the options for that entrance. Now's the time. So I know, Mike, you're very pleased with it as well. You know, we finally managed to get it over the look onto the radar.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, most definitely.
For those of us in the user group, we were, you know, wondering if we were going to be jettisoned at this point, but they told us they want to keep us on and maintain regular monthly meetings. So that's the update on that. And I must say, I'm, you know, at least happy on that, and we'll see what happens. I'll keep you updated. Any questions about those? I know that I've been giving you incremental updates all along, but no. They could have thrown these out. They could have thrown any one of them out, but, you know, so it's kind of satisfying, you know, it doesn't always happen. And I hope, you know, we can look forward to solid progress, particularly on that airport one. Let them look at the options. Let them look at, you know, the pitfalls with certain options compared to other options, but it's never been further along. So that's where we are. Okay. Any other questions or comments? If not, we'll ask Mike to give us an update on the micro park.
Okay, thank you. So we're coming along on the micro park. We did get the bench, and we have that. It's a beautiful bench, heavy, very heavy. And we got word that we should be getting the picnic table and the garbage receptacle, and then also the dog stand as well. And I think that's all we're expecting. And once we get all those, we'll put them all together. Talk to Diane about this and setting them all up at the entrance of the airport in that open field where the pecan trees are, and having a very inviting space, you know, for anybody that wants to come and enjoy that area. And
The bench is in the fire hall if you're curious, if you're going to go and see it. You know, it's really nice.
yeah,
And it
it
actually
is.
matches similar in design to the benches that are in front of or on both sides of the flight center. So I'm really pleased with it. I think it's going to look great down there, and it's going to have to take somebody very strong to try and remove it if anybody wanted to, but it's going to be seated. Mike, you said that you're going to get Chris to probably sink
Yeah.
rods to actually seat it in the ground and then put like a pea gravel base
Yeah,
on
that's what we'll do. We'll have a nice pea gravel area. That'll be bordered, so the heavy rain will carry it off. But yeah, it's going to be very, very nice. And then, yeah, we'll anchor them down with some rods in this pea gravel area. We talked about, doing cement labs for these areas. But then, we thought, well, we're just looking at aesthetics. We want it to look good too. So then we thought the pea gravel, and I was just recently somewhere where they had pea gravel, in areas like this, a seating area, at a commercial area. And that was really nice to see, because in my mind, I'm thinking this is going to be really pretty. And when I saw it this past weekend, what they had was very nice. So I'm looking forward to it. I think we can make that area look very, very nice and inviting. And as people drive around, to the airport and they see that, that'd just be one more thing that we can add to it that'll make this airport look good.
Yeah. And for anybody, pilots,
Yeah.
staff, administrators, and members of the community. It's a way. So I'm really pleased. I think, it's been kind of a long road, even starting from scratch, getting permission and everything.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah. And
The other thing,
go
pea
ahead.
gravel is that if the bench has to be moved, if it was in concrete, it'd be much more difficult if, in years to come, you want to move it because of something else that land eventually has to be used for the
Yeah.
bench somewhere else.
No, that's absolutely right. And that's something that I was thinking about too, because you never know, you might want to add a parking lot somewhere here or there.
Mhm.
One thing that's delayed this thing too that I was going to mention, because we were talking about it for a while, was when we ordered this stuff, it was like the lead time was crazy. I mean, it was months, and so that's why we're still talking about it, and it hasn't been done yet. But that's the reason for that.
So it's great. Go and have a look at it if you want in the fire hall, but it's going to look great in time for the leaves to turn.
Hmm.
out.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Mike, yet another update from you. Next item.
All righty. Thank you. Well, as I reported last month, I got 50 applications for the business coordinator position, and I was glad to see that many. I got it down to about 10, which was kind of hard because there were a lot of good ones, even in that 50. Then I interviewed, I think it was last week and in the prior week, I interviewed 6, and then took some time the end of last week and yesterday to kind of think about those 6. So I'm getting really close to making a decision. I've got to get with HR next and let them know. I'll probably do that tomorrow. Get with HR tomorrow, let them know my decision, and we'll go from there. Probably have to check the references and that kind of thing. But I'm kind of excited about it. And, it's definitely a position that does a lot here, working with the charters, and all of the accounting side of it, the customer service side of it. So it's a very, very important position. It deals with the public quite a bit. So that was one thing that I kind of, kept in mind as I was interviewing. And I think we've got several good candidates to choose from.
Mike,
Huh?
yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt. It was
No, you go
a
ahead.
question for you. But how does it work? Just say if the person is from within ACC government, is there a 2-week hold for them to remain in that position before they can come to your position? I know with a lot of other companies, that's probably a norm, 2-week notice or whatever before they can come to you.
Yeah, I've I talked to HR about that because there were some that were internal and there's some that weren't, and I'm considering both, of course. But if they were internal, it would be up to the department director. Normally, it's a 2-week. It could be longer, but you know, whatever the department director requests or really needs, you know, is what I'm understanding is the route they take.
Well, good news, Mike.
Getting there.
Just again, you know, standard kind of question, is there a probation period for a new hire like this?
Yeah, there is. So, you know, we have to go through all of that too.
Well, we look forward to the update for your
Yeah,
sake, in particular.
Yeah, yeah.
Doing 3 jobs. Okay.
Yeah, it's been, you know, but it's good for me because I need to learn it too, you know, and I've learned, you know, how we do, you know, the accounts payable here, you know, through different channels. And when I was in Rome, I did accounts payable and payroll, but it's all different, you know, it's all different as far as procedures. So it was good to learn that because now I know, and I needed to know as well how to do it.
Good. Any comments or questions further for Mike? Okay. All right. Well, let's move on to Mike yet again, but Robert,
Mhm.
on the Clarke County School District Initiative for Outreach. I don't know which of the two you want to give the
I'll let
update.
Robert start because he worked the hardest on this.
I worked the hardest, but you were there for the visit itself, which was very helpful for me. So I thank you for that, Mike. And really, you're adding more to your plate or the airport, what it is being, how should I say, touted to do other things, particularly when we're taking on the Clarke County School District in regards to making it available for the school district and the scheduling of all of that. But initially, my approach was to look at it from opportunities in 3 different areas, as far as opportunities for local exposure, the instructional possibilities through the school system, and feedback from when we met with Aaron Podvin from the Family and Community Engagement Specialist there, the opportunities within the Career Academy. So we came away from that visit that she had that day with some ideas that she is taking back to several entities within the Clarke County School District. Everything was very positive and very warmly received by her visit in regards to the instructional side of Clarke County School District will now be made aware of the airport and the things that are available. And they want to align visits to the airport with the content and standards of instruction that is going on within the school system. And I know we meet up to that end, but she's going to make sure that the instructional side is then asking questions of what else could be garnered from a visit to the airport besides the little kiddies going back home saying they've been to the airport, but add more to their curriculum, so to say, or the content and standards of the curriculum that they have. And so the instructional coach within the elementary, middle, and high schools will then be made aware. So then as far as instruction is concerned, it's more than just a field trip. It is a field trip with some educational activities and possibilities and other things that go along with it. And then thirdly, the Career Academy in regards to making the CEO of the Career Academy aware of the airport and then the possible career opportunities that could take place within that. And so Aaron's going to get back with Mike and I if they have any other questions. And I wanted to make sure that I was letting everyone know that I'm going to take advantage of this time for them getting back to then feed them some more information, which I will probably about the middle of this month, is to give them that fact sheet and say, now consider all these other things. We've had a little show and tell, you've been on the campus or you've been at the airport, but here are some other things that we talked about within the show and tell, but here it is written down for you to consider all this other information about the airport.
Yeah, it was a great meeting. I was really impressed with them and their enthusiasm,
Mhm.
and they were really impressed with us, and what we had to offer. So it was really a good meeting.
Yeah.
And one of the teachers brought her son, and
Mhm.
it was amazing. It was a great day for him because he got to get into an airplane, a big airplane, and sit in the flight deck, and then there was a military. I can't remember what was going on, but there was something else going on that he
Yeah.
enjoyed. So he
Mhm.
really got a lot out of that too, and that's really what we wanted to show them, the opportunities here for other students to come here and experience that and enjoy that. And that's what airports are missing nowadays. Like I told them, we have these walls. We got fences 10 foot high with 3 strands of barbed wire, and all you can do is peek through them. And we need to get these folks out here to experience it.
Mm. And actually, Craig, you mentioned the STEM projects last time, for pilot training or other related fields. Is that something that you've been talking with Robert about, or you could? I mean, I presume they would be looking into those areas since STEM funding is so big in all these school systems. Robert.
Yes, that was brought up in the conversation. And so in my follow-up with Aaron, who is really, how should I say, on the family and community engagement end of it, is talking to the Career Academy CEO.
Okay.
Follow up with the STEM information with that individual once Aaron from the Clarke County School District introduces or brings into focus the airport and all the possibilities here.
Mm-hmm. It's great.
Yes.
Robert, it sounds like you got a lot. I mean, the Clarke County School System's a pretty big organization, a lot of
Correct.
layers, a lot of veins with this and different people involved. It sounds like you've got a lot of things where they're already communicating kind of outward, right? So how confident do you feel that this can go all the way to getting the students on field trips to the airport, which is kind of the ultimate means we've got it rolling? And then roughly, do you have a guess on when we might have that first field trip, real roughly?
Mhm. I'm very confident that the information is getting back to the people that need to know about it, particularly on the instructional side. But what then has to happen is one of the teachers has to then have within their curriculum, so to say, the opportunity for that instructional, how should I, educational component of what they're offering within the content and standards of the curriculum that they're teaching in the schools. It can't just be, let's go out to the airport because the airport is there. We've got to have a reason to go out there, and then it has to be linked to the content of what they're doing in the classrooms. So that is taking place now with the visitors that we had, making sure that within the instructional part of it, that it is being communicated that it is there, they have this here. Let's make sure you work it to your lessons and other things, and then we'll get out to the airport, but also considering, how should I say, Clarke County policy on field trips and everything. None of that's taking place because we've gone this far within the meeting and nothing about COVID has been mentioned, so I'll say it now. But before COVID is being mentioned in the rules and regulations with transporting students and all those other things that have been put on hold.
Yeah. And I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what they say about liability, because many school systems just say absolutely no to field trips
Mhm.
on the basis of liability considerations. I mean, I
Right.
learned that the hard way, but it's probably good that you're focusing, on the full credit activities side rather than just, come and have a look, see, and have
For
a good
fun
time.
visit, yes. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
But on the other hand, what Mike said is true too. It made me remember, when my child was small, back in the days when you could take your little kid up to the cockpit and the pilot would let him sit in the seat and see everything, and they don't do that anymore, But at your airport, Mike, you still have the opportunity for a little kid like that to get in the cockpit and have a look, and So there is that side, even if that we're not for credit in school, but it could be a side benefit. You know.
Yeah, particularly for the younger kids, that was thought about when we invited them out, because the convenience and accessibility, I don't think it can be matched in any way to drive, 25 yards up from an airplane, right there at the front, and the convenience of getting on a bus or off a bus right there in the bus, driving another 20 yards and parking or whatever. So the accessibility, and particularly for the elementary school kids, not only the airplane aspect, but you have the fire engine out there, which is totally accessible and everything, and the firemen there. So that component of it also, you get that extra for the younger kids, but it still needing to be part of the content and standards of what they're doing within the school system already. And just approach it from that side also. It's not just, how should I say, a field trip to take a field trip, but a field trip with instruction that goes with it.
Yeah, that's great.
And the Career Academy excites me because there's other communities that have the Career Academy, and they actually have curriculum, aviation curriculum for these career academies that they could tap from. And, they could create something new and exciting, in these career academies, aviation related.
Yeah. Well, there's so much talk of the need for jobs and for skills and school to work, programs in this community that, that would be great if something could materialize. Yeah, good news. Thank you for that update. Any other comments, questions about it? So, I mean, what Keith asked, are you looking beyond this current academic year? You're probably looking at least the following academic year.
Well, I don't want to put the candle out on something happening in the spring. Anything will be this fall, as far as through January, but who knows how should I say, the atmosphere around COVID exposure and all of that then changes, and they may be chomping at the bit to get these kids to go somewhere on a field trip. And if you have something that has been started and they're aware of that's local, it makes it much more convenient and possible for that to possibly happen. And I'll keep my ears to the academic side in consultation with principals and others. Are you taking any field trips? Where are you going? Consider the airport, things working its way up as far as that is concerned, particularly with my contacts on the elementary school side with those kids.
Did you guys engage in any discussion about bringing the teachers, like on a teacher work day, bringing teachers to the airport to, to see what they would find interesting?
That wasn't directly communicated. It was more so the airport is open, and if you communicate with someone else from your end that wants some further knowledge or investigated more, we're open to inviting them out as far as that is concerned.
Yeah.
Formally set up.
Interesting.
Robert, just for our notes for the meeting here, you want this as kind of a monthly just item for any quick update from you?
Yes, I think that would be fine with me, yes. So I can then follow up with my communication back to them to kind of, it's not to nudge, but it's to make sure we're staying on their radar with communication back to them, so I can then report back to the authority at large.
Sounds good.
Very good. Thank you so much, Robert.
Yes.
And Mike. We'll look forward to next month's update.
Okay.
Okay. Moving on to new business. I guess it's new business. It's next year's or this year's report. Mike is sharing the sort of working document that Keith initiated and updates after every layer of work. And Mike and Keith and I had quite a long meeting last week, and I do have to say, shame, Mike, as I said, I don't know how many jobs you're holding down, but then Keith and I also make demands on you for meetings and long discussions.
I'm glad to do it. I am.
I'm going to let Keith share the update with all of you now that I've mentioned it, but we value your input, and on the basis of last week's discussions with Mike, Keith will also share some updates on decisions we've made.
Yeah, so Yeah, what we want to do, as Diane mentions, this is just a real rough, more of a working document. So I'm not sure we'll really scan through it fully, but we'll want to make sure you all are square on what we're considering so far as the contents and maybe what the different pages would include. And so with this document, what I'm hoping is in the next week or two, we can start putting the graphics to this and turning this into something that looks more like the final image. But since we've got this meeting, we wanted to make sure we want to bounce this off of you all. And so as I'm talking here, I'll try to give some breaks. So if you have any input or don't get my attention, please give us any input about all of this. I know before we talked about a few things from all of you. You gave some inputs. I know Robert voiced about the importance of having some location maps, something that shows where the airport is and convenience of it. We also had input from Craig and David, at least I believe, about keeping this as, where if someone sits down to read it, it keeps their attention pretty quickly. Don't try to make it too long. I know Grant, everybody had some input about it. So let's just kind of go through it here. For starters, where we're at so far is the table of contents, and you can see the length of it would be 10 pages plus the cover page. We're going to have this printed. We'll plan to have probably about 100 copies. Mike has a printer that did the last report, so we generally do print about 100 copies. And the audience for that, just as a reminder about this, for the hard copies include Chamber of Commerce, the mayor and commission, and Mike, who else did I miss there as far as?
Economic development, and then the state
Yeah.
agencies as well.
Okay, and then it's going to be available online also, where many more will actually see it. So what we're looking at so far, and by the way, this report, this working copy report, the red items are actual text, are, not in this format, but actual text content that we would plan to include in the report, data, text, and so forth, while anything in black or anything highlighted or in blue, that's just notes for us, working notes for us. So we've got to start with there after this content, since the location and convenience seem to be critical there. Mike, before you go down, let me just kind of go down the table of contents if you want to scroll back up just a second, then we can kind of go down to the scan through the pages and see if any input. So airport location and convenience, we're going to have sort of a map diagram that'll have potentially like the state, and then zoom in on Clarke County, Athens, as it is located in the state, and then zoom in a little better and show the location of the airport versus downtown University, have some comments about that. So we wanted that to be really early on. And again, give me any input as I'm going through it here. Then the next page 3, we're looking at having airport director message from Mike, along with mission statement and vision. Page 4, trying to keep the attention getting things up to the front of this report. We have key highlights and results. We'll take a look at that page in just a minute. And, it's an annual report, so the focus needs to be on what we accomplish, what are the numbers, important things, important information about the year. Page 5 would be similar. It would be economic impact and other contribution to the community. As we've discussed, it's important that everyone in Athens is aware of the airport and recognizes the value and how we contribute to the community. And, we've got efforts we're working on in that regard. Then page 6 would be, if you'll remember, Diane's destination dimensions, which had some input from folks here. We'll look at that in just a second. Then page 7 is airport key features, services, and facilities. So we're giving some facts and figures about the airport outside of key highlight types of information that happened during the year. Financial results, we'll kind of have this at the end, not that it's dull, but it's the required kind of information that we need in summary, just revenue, expenses, those kind of things. Page 9 would be a review of capital projects that we've completed. or that are in progress. And then page 10 is the future, which includes commercial service, but other things. Thoughts on that sequencing before we kind of just scan through the contents a little bit? Anybody?
Keith, I guess, when was it? Yesterday, you and I talked about the listing of names, probably right at the end of the report.
Yes. What we were thinking about doing is having, Mike, his name and position, potentially the new administrative person, coordinator, since can be a key contact person for a lot of those that interface with the airport. Maybe the names of us on the board here. Thoughts about that?
I guess, Mike, we need your input on that. I mean, this is your report and we only advise and recommend, I mean.
Yeah, what we've talked about is all good. I think in last report, I think we added that toward the end, didn't we?
Yeah, we did,
Because
because
at first it wasn't on there.
you weren't on it and the
Yeah.
authority wasn't on it. And so we ended up we added you as the director and we put the names of the airport authority members.
Yeah, I think all that really needs to be on there. Everybody needs to know who all the players are. So yeah, I think that's a good idea.
So far what we've got before we just kind of scan through the pages is, a lot based on input from everyone and putting this together, knowing the purpose of the annual report. You'll see something missing that we did talk about in our last meeting, is that we don't have testimonials in here. We debated that, and just we're asking the question instead of just riding on the road to Abilene, as some people say it. Are testimonials normally something that's part of an annual report? We're kind of using the Leisure Services annual report from last year just as a comparison. And we thought maybe we shouldn't necessarily have those. It could take some time to get them, but I think our thinking more so was let the information about the airport that we're giving here be the testimonial of the airport and what it is and our results, instead of statements. So comments on that? We've got a lot of input that everybody had built in here, but we were planning to leave out testimonials. Thoughts? Anybody?
Well, I guess, I mean, I guess, Keith, you and I really also deferred to Mike on that and said that it's really Mike's final decision, and Mike said he felt to probably leave them off.
The reason for me, I didn't want to say anything because I wanted to hear if anybody else had any. But the reason I say that is because we don't want to make it too long. Being an annual report, in other reports that we've done, we've had testimonials, and those are more like marketing, selling. This is more of an information thing to all the people, to let them know, where we stand, all the good things we're doing. But I didn't want to make it too long. I didn't want to put a whole lot into it so that people would just say this is too big, just throw it to the side. But something very manageable where they could look at it and understand it and see, at a glance of an eye, where we stand. And so that's why I kind of made that decision.
Anybody? Thoughts, opinions? All right, so let's just kind of scan through, and as we go through, again, this is rough. This is a really working copy, Mike. And by the way, the first screen there on page 2, excuse me. Keep on going, Mike. I'm sorry, I'm doing this instead of you having to. This is like me telling you where to turn the steering wheel. It'd be kind of. This page 2 is
going off the road.
Location and convenience. As we mentioned, we'll insert some maps and graphics, and with all these, we're going to have. I'm actually meeting with Mike at some point here really soon to try to tie down some information and gather some photographs that Mike has that we will use as the backgrounds on some of these. And so, we'll have kind of the map. You'll see some notes in there. We want to focus on the easy convenience, how long it takes to get from the downtown, the Arts, University, or whatever to the airport. This may be something that we could even fit on the table of contents page before it, but we'll see once we kind of get it work there. And then Mike, actually, I just tried to scroll down myself. Mike, that's crazy on my part. It just keep going, and you all can add comments at any point. This will be where Mike, page 3, where he has his statement, and we just have a reminder of our mission and vision.
And a picture of Mike there.
Yep. This next one is where this kind of shows, it won't look at all like this, but just roughly having a table kind of format that makes the reading easy instead of like a list form. We thought this might work. Again, it'll look a lot better once we have the graphics done. But this is the key highlights and results, key things that we want to point out, there along, what are the items, what are the numbers, and some comments. And so we've got space for some more things. If you see something there that or if there's something while we're looking at that that's maybe missing as an important attribute we should report about for the year, kind of speak up.
Just a format point there, Keith.
Yep.
Once we've got that organized, we can take the lines out. And separate the sections with an extra space so that it doesn't look quite as rigid. That's easy to do, so we can bear that in mind.
Sounds good.
And we might use symbols or some sort of graphics to also dress up that kind of page. But I just did want to mention we can take those lines out and separate with spaces.
Yep.
Which, would make it look much more readable.
Is Grant still on?
I don't know. I'm not seeing.
Lost Grant. But if you have anything else, or even after the call, if you want to email me or email some of us, if you think of some other items that we're missing in any of this. Next page. So that was key highlights to focus on, accomplishments and information during the year. The next one is economic impact to Athens, as well as other contribution to the community. Those seem to kind of go together. So we've kind of got this in a sort of a list form here. The top part there is just from the latest GDOT Department of Transportation study of airports in the state, and that doesn't get updated for several years from now. But since it was just about a year or so old, we're going ahead and reporting some information there. Then just at the bottom, we're noting some things where the airport contributes to the Athens area. I think definitely there, if you've got other thoughts, let us know.
Keith, let me ask you, maybe all of you, I mentioned, in terms of contributions to the Athens area, one thing that we could do is take the achievements or key points through the year and just make a reference to the mayor and commission's strategic commitments and goals. There are only 6 of them, but basically all the reporting, in this communities can be linked to those, like the manager's snapshot is organized according to those. And that might be a place to do that. And it doesn't have to take a lot of extra space. Keith, we talked about that or started talking about it briefly.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay. Any other input so far? Mike, is David still with you?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and then Mike, you're at the next page there, the destination dimensions. Diane's going to be working with this to sort of with the graphics a little bit, but I guess Diane, the thought is it's going to still roughly look something like we got there.
Yeah, we can just make it conform to the rest, in terms of the format. Yeah.
Then the next page 7 is, as we mentioned with the table of contents, airport key features, services, and facilities. Again, thinking about our audience for this, they're going to use this annual report for some basic information about the airport, so we're trying to fulfill that. Again, if you have thoughts, let me know now or later.
You need a header for each column.
Okay, yeah.
like the category of information on the left, and then whatever you choose in the middle, and then the right-hand column should be something like significance or comments or something, but
Okay.
a header.
Diane, Keith, Mike, as you're going through this, is there any protocol from the county that you have to use, or the government, is be a specific format? I know we're talking about
Mhm.
different ways, but is there any prescription of what has to be done there before we do a lot of work?
Not that I know. I guess we can ask Mike if you would know, or Blaine, you're on with us. My only suggestion is that we do reference the strategic, commitments and goals. But in terms of formatting, I mean, is there any prescription there, Blaine, Mike?
Yeah, there really hasn't been that I know of in the past, and what we did prior, we did a draft 2 years ago. We did original one last year, and we tried to mirror it to what was already being done, actually, by Leisure Services. That was really what we started looking at. So kind of knew we were on the right track, but not that I know of, unless Blaine knows something.
Well, I really appreciate that question, Grant. And there's organizations that have formatting policies and they want the same look, and it goes to speak to the brand and the messaging that's important, which Lord knows this government needs. And we've tried to talk to the commission about that. I think a lot of people equate brand with logo. Of course, all of you guys y'all been through this before, no doubt, with your own organizations. So the short answer is no, but I wish we did. Y'all always Mike puts out a professional product. So, we're not going to fly spec it too much, but y'all have heard us say too, that we were concerned about separate websites and different logos and things of that nature too, which I know is a dilemma for the airport, because you're trying to distinguish yourself, and market yourself to the bigger community. So all that being said, that's the long bureaucrat answer to no. I know y'all will do a good job, but I see the wisdom in that question. Thank you.
Well, I think, if we reference the strategic priorities, even, just in condensed form, it doesn't have to take a lot of text. And we are modeling it quite heavily on the Leisure Services report. They tend to use columns and blocked sets of information without the lines. But, if you look at that report, it's pretty clearly laid out. And so I think that we could say that we are being sensitive to the need, where the local leadership wants to see some sort of conformity across all reports for all departments. Ours won't be so, out in left field that it's totally different.
Sounds good.
Okay.
So then, I think almost at the end here, page 8 is just going to be financial results. That's a list. I don't know, Grant, you got a lot of finance background. We're just thinking of listing the items. Mike or anybody, any input on anything we should include there? It's just the
Yeah, I saw that
numbers.
the other day. I may add a few things to that, but we can talk about that when we see each other.
Yep, sounds good. We have to wait till ACC has finalized numbers, which I don't think has happened yet, before we fill in the blanks. And then page 9 is capital projects. We'll just have some format there, bullet points of some discussion of the capital improvements, of which we talked about earlier, with the runways and so forth, and funding. And then page 10, discussion of the future. And there's just a kind of a short list there of a few potential things we'll be including: commercial service funding, future prospective project. Go ahead. Community engagement plans, which are important for us. So any input on it all?
Well, see, Keith, just on that last point you've made on page 10, and you emailed me this thought as well, and that is, you can see there are some clear connections we can make about community engagement and shared prosperity transportation, commercial service outlook, etc., to the strategic goals of the mayor and commission. So I think that we can make it, quite clearly to conform to the sort of general scheme of organizing the material.
Yeah, it could be that this page is speaking to the future. Maybe we point back to some things regarding the strategic commitments
Mhm.
in regard to the future on this page, and then what we've accomplished maybe on a prior page, as you mentioned. But we'll
Yeah.
work it out, so we'll get it covered well. Thoughts, Grant, overall, anything?
I like it. I think we will appropriately defer to Mike for what he thinks is the
Mhm.
right content. And I agree. I think we'll put out a very professional document that people will get great value of. I think the construction of it, the meat of it, from things I've seen in the past, Mike might disagree. You're probably not going to sell anybody on the airport by giving them this annual report. Those that are going to use the airport are going to know the fuel prices, know the flights in and out, know the convenience. I think this is almost a good selling point to the community who may not know what the airport is and understand the value of what it contributes and how that goes a long way in helping the county and the government sell its services and import. And I go back to my days at the hospital. A lot of question around the Georgia Hospital Association economic value report that was put out. And we used it to talk about what the hospital contributed to the community. And I think about other services. And for those of us that were in the business, it meant a lot. And for I think all those that are in the airport business, the convention visitors business, the hospitality business, the economic development business, what you put in this report will be important for people to understand the asset that's here, how it's used, and what the contribution that it gets back. So all that diatribe to say, if we're looking on the financial section, we all might like to see how many pounds of fuel we sell. We all might like to see the number of rental spaces we do. But what's going to be important is the number of trips that come in and out of Athens and how it supports the rest of the community and the development, whether it be economic, cultural, university, all those things. I think that's the important of it. So I like the format of it. I think what we're doing is great. And, the devil's always in the details. So when we get it done and look at it, we'll make a few tweaks, I'm sure, and be happy with it.
Yeah.
Sounds good, Grant. Appreciate it. Yeah.
Well said, Grant. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Robert?
Nothing extra to add. I'm just thrilled to, how should I say, continue to see this evolve, and whatever contribution I can make, please let me know. I'm ready to step in.
Sounds good.
Your contribution about the map and the convenience, the details up front stands as very significant, because ironically, local community members need that information, not necessarily just outsiders. We've got people who are, quite prominent in the community who admit they've never even been to the airport. So, I think it's great. And, I feel very strongly that we want Mike to be happy with it and feel that this is something that really does speak to how the advances made at the airport under his leadership are actually, contributing a lot to the community. So that's where I think we can hit some of those points quite hard. Yeah.
Craig?
I think everything looks great. I think it's heading in the right direction. And I think it's in good hands.
And then David? Thoughts?
Yeah.
Can't hear you.
All right. Same comments as Craig and Robert said. Let's keep the trajectory going. Yeah, good work in progress.
Okay.
Okay.
We're kind of cutting out there. I think we. All right. I think that's it for now. Will, this is going to be due at some point in November. I don't know that we've got Mike, specific date yet. I think get it done in November is where we're working towards. So we may have, hopefully, we're going to start working on the graphics in the next few weeks.
Mhm.
Have a lot of this done as we're getting into the end of October, 1st of November. Got to get it printed. So potentially, hopefully another update with a more of a final product in our October meeting.
Okay.
That's all I've got.
All right.
Appreciate
Thank you for
everybody.
that. Yeah, thanks for all the comments from everybody. And thank you, Keith, for all of your work on it as well. Okay, moving on to the next item under new business. Mike has an update on 2 funded projects or 1 funded project, and then the other T-SPLOS 2023 application. Mike, you did a couple of presentations this last week, wasn't it? Yeah. So
Yeah, it was. And I did the T-Splosh presentations first. All within probably an hour and a half, I had the T-Splosh and the Splosh. The Splosh one, the reason it's on here on our agenda is because it was necessary for me to present the Splosh committee the 220 design, because that is a part of that money. So we had to get that approved from them. So that's what the Splosh 2020 was all about. Now the T-Splosh 2023, we had 2 presentations that I made. One was for the trail, outside trail around the airport, walking and bike trail. And then the other one was for T-hangers or hangers. And so I made those 2 presentations. So I'm anxious to see, what they decide on that. I did, when I made the presentation, I did let them know that the property tax, doesn't just come to the airport. It actually all goes to Athens-Clarke County general fund. But we do get fuel sales and then of course traffic count and hangar rental, from those as well. So we all benefit from the hangar being built. And then the walking trail, I did let them know as well that there is connections to Satterfield or connections to Lexington. The sidewalk there on the south side of the airport, and then eventually, hopefully, maybe the Firefly Trail as well, which is a little hike, but I've been told that it is doable. But then I did also in the presentation, Diane, I showed them a couple pictures of the parks, that Greenville has that we're so interested in doing here. Of course, I let them know that that was not a part of this project, but that there are opportunities, other opportunities, if we did have the walking trail or bike trail, that we could shoot off of that, and build a nice park for, kid park. Aviation related, which, if you've ever been to Greenville, I know a lot of you have, here, and David has too. It's a great park. PDK, Peachtree Cave Airport has one too on their airport. It's not quite as big as Greenville's, but it certainly is, an asset to the community. And when kids are trying to get to the airport, they can certainly enjoy it. But anyway, with all that said, I think it went fairly well. We'll just have to see how it all, pans out.
okay. Very good. Any comments or questions for Mike on those projects? All right, there's a long road ahead on the new T-Splosh one, but we'll be watching it with great interest, So, okay, the last item under new business was for David to give an update. There was a nice event at the airport on Saturday. So, David, we're looking forward to hearing from you, and I certainly hope you had a hot dog for me.
I actually didn't, but I made some for my daughter and my wife. I was manning the grill for the first hour or so, but then I tossed the tongs over to one of the UGA Aviation Club guys, and they took over and they rolled with it. They probably had about 25 or so of their club members here. They had cornhole set up. They brought out a TV to watch the football game. We had a good amount of transient traffic. Some flew in just for the game. I'm sorry, for the event. Probably 6 or 7 different airplanes flew in. Some, just saw the flyers online. There's some transient traffic. There was a couple I spoke to who was coming back from Naples, and they made this their planned fuel stop on the way to their home in Cincinnati, and they loved it. It did everything that it was supposed to do. It was very small, it was very organic, and nobody was displeased with it. It was a very nice welcome. Put smile on people's faces. There are a couple of families that came out. It looked like they came out, through from the parking lot. So drove in for it. Everything that we had hoped about, everything that I talked about, very small still, but exactly where we want it to be and how we want it to grow, organically, not a big event, but I think there's some excitement for the next one. I plan to meet again with the UGA Aviation Club president, talk about what went well, what can be improved upon. They're a good group. And I think with a little direction, I'd like to see whatever group is hosting that event as it goes on. I'd like them to be more, take more of an ambassador type role of welcoming people to the airport, thanking them for coming. And, these are college students. They got in their circles and they talked amongst themselves a little bit more. But I think that will come just with a little direction. So everything I think went well. And I'm excited for the next one. Hopefully, that's on UGA's bye week, so hopefully the weather will still be nice and warm, and we'll have a good showing there too.
Yeah, it's on the fourth Saturday of every month, and then Craig is also on that committee with David. So
and Robert
too, right? Robert too, right? So thank you to both of you.
Yeah.
It went great. So thumbs up there. I think it'll continue to be a good thing.
Well, I hope, you can have it as a regular thing, and then maybe, we can piggyback off it to one day get back to larger scale public events as well, general public. But that's great. Got to start at this level. Yeah. Very good. Any comments or questions? The next one is 4th Saturday in October, hey? Yeah. I hope to be there for my hot dog. Okay. All right. Well, I don't know if
the hot dogs were delicious. Mike got a great grill for us, and it's nicely seasoned. It did a great job.
very good.
And he owns a restaurant, so that means a lot.
You would know.
Yeah.
Well, all very good updates. Is there any update from any of the standing committees for the next section? We have that there is a sort of regular feature placeholder, but some of you have already sort of given updates. But if there's anything else for business and finance from Keith or operating from David, I don't believe there are any current planning proposals, or if you have any update on it, or from Grant on the other committee.
I don't think we have anything specific on the committee from our side.
Anything, Keith?
Yeah. So, am I muted?
You're good.
I'm good. Okay. So at the event on Saturday, a flight school came up to visit, see our airport a bit, and talk to us. They came back again. They're out of Peachtree City, Falcon Field. They came back today, a couple of them, to see what space we have available here. So we're engaged in some conversations with them to see if they might want to move a couple airplanes up here and start training some students.
Hmm. Were they the ones that had a desk at your open house? Remember when you had, well, the aviation club had that sort of open house initial meeting a couple of months ago, and there was a flight school there. They had a table and brochures, a couple of guys.
I don't think I was there. Was I there?
Yeah, you were there for part of it. Maybe it was a different one. I thought they were from Peachtree, but maybe not. Maybe there was somebody else. Doesn't matter, you know. If they're interested, that's great.
They're interested. They're looking to put a couple of new airplanes here. So Mike's got to get them some information that they requested, and you know we'll see through and maybe an update next month.
Okay, sounds good.
Sounds-
All right. Shall we move on? Okay. Under other business, there are a couple of little points or items, really just to follow up or for continuity purposes, that Keith and I had been mulling over, and Keith would like to maybe just, you know, give some or share some thoughts with us on things that we had discussed before, really just along the lines of keeping the ball rolling on some things long term. So Keith, I'll let you address those couple of points, and then I'll end with just one final thing about election. Keith, can't hear you.
And Mike, on this one, sustainability, maybe you can just give us, I know that we were driving kind of hard with this for a while, and we're waiting on ACC to give guidance with what the different organizations in the city can or should be doing. So, Mike, any updates with that? And if, I think there were some things that we were continuing to do, and you've actually accomplished some things that when I see you, Mike, we probably could add into the annual report under the page about the page with maybe key highlights and results or something like that. I know, like with the electric vehicle, there was a couple of things I know that you had done, but could you give any updates on, you know, where ACC stands with a sustainability policy that we should start working on? And if also, is there any things that we should be and could be working independent from that, even if that's still not finished yet?
Well, last I had heard in talking to Andrew Saunders that they were working on their end still, and once they finished up on their end, and it's been several months though, so I'll have to touch base with him again. Then they'll have more of an idea of, you know, how we need to proceed. And I don't know if Blaine knows any more than that. I'll just have to get with Andrew and find out.
No, Mike, that's my understanding as well.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'll find out. You know, there's been a lot, you know, with COVID, and everybody's kind of been going in every single different direction. I don't know how much progress has been made on that front, but I'll find out. But as far as us, you know, we
Yeah.
definitely are continuing. We've got the LED lights that are going in on Alpha. We've got LED lights, you know, on the opposite end of Alpha as well, which is saving some money. We got a hybrid vehicle. We have a regeneration fuel truck, and so there's a lot of things going on here on the airport, you know, that we're definitely working toward. But yeah, we can get together, and then I'll call Andrew, and then when we get together this week, I can give you more information on that.
Okay. And one thing we had talked about, I'm not sure your thoughts late. You and I and Diane had spoken about this, and I just asked the question. That was a little over a month ago. We were having a preview call for the agenda, as usually we do, and about the potential plans with self-service gasoline. And I know at that time I was, I think the way we left it, I was charged with getting some of us together to just delve into that, because I just had to kind of answer the question, how would that impact our bottom line, was kind of it. So I don't know, Mike, I guess probably still waiting on me to potentially get us together, or if you had other thoughts in the meantime, but
I think since the last time we had gotten together, I'd made some progress. As far as the bottom line, I mean, it adds to the bottom line because it's a 24/7 unit. People can come in anytime and use it. So you're definitely going to be making some money. You're not going to be making a whole lot of money, but you're still making some money. I mean, our profit margin on avgas is very, very low. I mean, it's a tight profit margin compared to jet, where most airports, make their most money on that. But we also had decided to eliminate a tank, trying to figure out how to bring the cost down. I think the cost that I had gotten was roughly 80, maybe $90,000 for a full self-serve unit. And so in talking to Titan, our fuel supplier, and also David, there's opportunities to locate this self-serve near the fuel farm. And if that's the case, then we can just tap into the fuel farm tank, the avgas tank, and then have the self-serve unit, just piped away from it. That would save a lot of money, and would probably cut it, if not more than half, about half. So that would be manageable. But
So maybe when
I'll go ahead.
yeah, I'm sorry, but so maybe when I see about the annual report, we'll just take a second. Some of this is just for my education, just to kind of understand, and then we kind of get a feel for next steps, or if there's any other questions on it. So
Yeah, and I want to, when you come out, like I say, I want to show you the projects going on too. But I can also show you the location, we're talking about for that self-serve.
sounds good.
Kind of understand where it is.
All right, that's all I had, Diane, I think.
Anybody else want to chime in on those points or issues?
I would like to say this too with the self-serve real quick, is that, and David knows this as well, if you get on ForeFlight or you get on a lot of the flight planning apps, it does have fuel prices on there. And I think David and I brought this up once before. But if we get a self-serve, that's going to be the price that it's going to show. So it'll show a low price. Now, it'll also show that we have a self-serve. So most pilots who use it a lot understand that the lowest price is going to be the self-serve. And then they'll just delve more into it and find out what the other prices are. But when you first get on that website in Athens Airport, we want to show the lowest price we can to kind of get them here, whether they use a self-serve or not. They might say, let's use the self-serve. Yeah, here you go. Here's I don't know. He's trying to pull up ForeFlight where it shows Athens.
Mm-hmm.
And
nav.com.
What's that?
Is that what is it, nav.com?
That's another one. That's another app that a lot of pilots use. Now, this particular one that David's showing you is ForeFlight, and this is one that's widely used for pilots that do, navigate from one point to another. But there's also sub-apps in there that you can go into and see what the fuel prices are for that airport, how they compare to other airports around you. Now, I've mentioned this once before. I don't know if it's been to this group, but, a lot of people say, why can't your prices be like Winder? Well, you go to Winder and they got a nice airport, but I'll tell you, it's not as nice as this airport. I mean, we got all the amenities here. We got a lot of people that are going to bend over backwards to be there. Sometimes I'll fly into Winder and I'm parking my own airplane. I'm handling my own, stuff. So here, we've got the people, we've got the facilities, and that's, we have some overhead that we got to pay for, just plain and simple. So, if you come here, you're going to get good service. And now we're not the highest and we're not the lowest, but we try to be, mid-range and very fair. So, but, with all that said, what David showed you, sometimes we are, in the high side. And we do adjust it. We look at all of the different airports around. We look at, our profit margins and the minimum we need to be. How can we adjust that? We try to be pretty consistent and fair with the avgas. Of course, jets where we try to make some money, but, we don't gouge. We don't believe in that, of course. And we just want to be fair to everybody and yet pay the bills. So.
Okay.
Mike, I was wondering, do you have a plan yet to address the oncoming 100 no lead?
Yeah. I've been talking to Titan about that, and there's something out there, I guess, that I think Shell was working on something. I was told that that's been put on hold. I heard there's something else out there that might become available soon. Um, but when time comes, Titan said, that they will help us convert, to the new fuel when it comes around. So right now, I don't have any answers to that. I don't even think Titan really knows right now, and nobody's really talking about it. So yeah, we're just keeping our eye out here, ears out, and listening to anything we can. Titan's usually pretty good about coming back to us with any information and any changes to that, and updates too.
Okay. Any other comments on those points? All right. There's just one other tiny little sliver of an item I want to mention. Looking back at last year, it pertains to committee membership and chair and vice chair and the election. We actually held the election in the November meeting last year because I went and messed things up by going to Kenya in January. And so the decision actually was the authority decided not to have a meeting in December, which pushed the election into November. And that may happen again this year, but I just want to mention that, this is our end of September meeting. We've got an end of October meeting and an end of November meeting. If you are the chair or a member of one of the standing committees, I guess I'd like to just ask you to mull over whether you want to continue in that position or you want to change. If you are the vice chair, as Keith is, Keith's already shared some thoughts on what he feels there. I'm chair, I have to do the same. I just want to mention, in advance of end of October and certainly end of November coming, if you could just let me know what your thoughts are. If you're quite happy to stay where you are, that's fine. If you want to change, I guess just start to think about it. And we will have to also think about whether we want a December meeting, because that would also, come into play. If you're all totally dead against having a meeting in December, we can decide that. If I'm lucky and all goes well the way it appears I might be lucky enough to see, I will be going to Kenya and Tanzania again in late January and through February. So the same, sequence of events could occur for the election. So if you could just let me know, if you don't have any thoughts, I'll send you another reminder in a couple of weeks or a few weeks. Okay? All right. So unless anybody has anything else, I do declare that we've got through the agenda. You're all smiling, so I guess you don't want anything else. So do I have a motion to end the meeting?
So moved.
All right. Thank you, Grant. Second? Keith, with a big smile. Okay. All in favor of ending the meeting and adjourning? Thank you. Everybody? Okay. You're free to go. I'll let you out like children on the playground. Listen to me. Thank you.
Thank you. See you later.
Bye, Chris. Bye, Jacob.
Yeah.